Hey guys, so this is my first table that I've ever done. I've never really done table restoration, furniture restorations in general. Um, but I figured I'd try to pick up a new hobby and try to find something that will help me make a little bit of extra cash with your guys' help. Um, So here I am showing you the condition of the table before I even worked on it. There was a bunch of scratches, writing and everything, and from what I do know, the previous owner of this table actually started doing tattooing and was using fake skins, and the tattoo gun was going through the skin and it was hitting the table. And if I'm being honest, I have a couple tattoos myself, and my wife does tattoos. Um, and when your needle hits a hard surface, bends the needle, and it would cut up your skin. So I feel bad for those artificial skins when the needle was hitting it. She was also just tattooing the table itself. Um, but anyway, I did go ahead and hit the table with a 60 grit and worked my way up to a 120. I did go with a 220 pass, but I did notice that that was a little too smooth for my liking. Don't get me wrong, I love a smooth table, but I'd rather it be smooth with a finish than with sanding, because if your table is too smooth, then your stain will not stick the way it needs to. So I did go back over it off camera with an 80 grit and worked my way back up to a 120, just so I can give it a little bit of texture for the stain to grab, but it would still be smooth enough for comfortable touch. So here I'm just showing the pass of the 60 grit. Wasn't the cleanest, wasn't the best. I must admit it's not the best sanding job ever. Like I said, this is my first table. I will get better over time. I should start working on it a little bit more and practicing. But I mean, hey, what's done is done, you know. So here I am just going over some passes with other types of grits: 80 grit, 60 grit, 80 grit, 120 grit, and making sure that it is gonna be good. Right here I am pointing out the legs because I do need to get those. Then I do notice that I did not get the sides of the table where that little drop off is and it curves down to the underside of the table, but I promise you I will get that later. And then I did forget to record me taking apart the table and getting two of the legs. And I did start on the third one, only did one side of it. But I went ahead and took the table apart because I did notice that sanding the legs and the side pieces was a lot harder with something on top. So I just took the table apart and paid attention. Save the screws. It is very important that you save the screws, bolts, nuts, whatever you're pulling off of the table. You always put it into a bag, in separate bags, so you don't mix up any screws or lose any screws. But I did also sand one of the pieces, side pieces for the table. Again, not the prettiest sanding job, but hey, it got the job done. If I would have went any deeper, I would have just caused defects by thinning out the wood quite a bit. That stain was not coming off, and I do not have a stripper or paint thinner to help with the stain coming off, so at this point it's just all sanding. And right here I am just sanding off the last leg. And one thing that I did was kind of did a little roll so I can smooth out the sharp corners, and got that last side piece done. And then right here I was not expecting how bad the underside of the table was going to be. There was sticky stuff, there was a bunch of drawing on it as well, and it just looked horrible. It needed to be redone. So the middle piece, it wasn't as bad. It was just the stain wasn't it wasn't all that good, if I'm being honest. But hey, it's under the side of the table, nobody will see it. But I did go ahead and take all the locks off of the table that keep the table together, because it is a separating table, and you can put a centerpiece inside of it to make your table longer. And right here, again, I'm just passing through with 60 grit all the way up to 120. and I am making sure this table is all nice and clean. The sanding job again wasn't too good. Like I said, I will get better over time, but for now we're just gonna have to stick with it. The bottom of the table did end up looking pretty good. It wasn't to my liking, but hey, it's done. What can I do? But right here, I know it's a little bit of a long clip of just the sideways screen of the house. I did not realize that my recording stand died, so my phone just did its own thing and was just recording something and was not recording the process that I was doing. Right here, I was sanding that corner, that little drop piece in that corner, and making sure that that was all good. Right here, I am just putting together the legs to the side pieces so I can put the table back on. And one of the screws that I was working on right there was actually stripped, and one of the threads was kind of bent down a little bit. So what I went ahead and did was got a tap and die set and just kind of rethreaded the bolt right there so I could get the nut to go over it. But it was all done, it's all good. Now that I have those pieces together, I'm going to put the table down on its face, and then I'm going to put the legs on, as you can see here. And let me tell you, doing this was actually pretty fun. It was easy, and it was just great. Anyway, I got the table to its top side and started screwing in all the locks and everything. All the extra side pieces that were on that middle piece right here, I'm just putting on the locks to the underside of the circle part of the table. I did get confused with some of the parts because of the fact that they weren't working for a second. It's just an old lock and I don't have any replacements, and for some reason I cannot find any replacements at any hardware stores. So I just had to run along with that, ended up finding a way to make it work. And on this side, that piece was actually really, the lock on it was actually really messed up. Did not want to go, I guess. It didn't want to lock too well, so you had to give the whole thing a twist. As you can see there, it wasn't locking unless I gave it a full twist. Making sure all the screws are tight. Alright, and then here's the finished sanding product, whatever you want to call it. It's the finish of the sanding. Right now I'm about to add some finish to it, but then I did realize that I did leave my stain in my wife's car while she was at work, so I did have to go and pick that up so I could start. Here I am looking for it. I'm wondering where it's at. Maybe I left it inside and it wasn't inside. Then I realized that I left it in my wife's car and then had to go pick it up, and that was a good drive. Anyway, I got it there. Ignore the pink gloves, all I had on hand for my wife's tattooing stuff. But and let me tell you too, those gloves did not fit. They were way too small for my hands, but I went ahead and just dealt with it anyway. Right now I'm adding a dark walnut stain. It's a water-based polyurethane, and it is going to it's gonna work. It's a very horrible finish on that first go, so I did decide right then and there that I was just going to sand it down and with the 120 grit, so it didn't take too much off, just the parts that were that had too much stain and blotches and everything. And then I went ahead and restained it, and it ended up being a better finished product. But so far everything is pretty good. The legs I was actually kind of happy with. They didn't look bad at all. they did have small blotching, but the way the blotching looked on it, it looked like a natural wood with the holes in it and everything, and it actually gave it a pretty aesthetic to the wood. But like I said, the top of the table did need some work. It wasn't good at all. So I did have to go ahead and change that. And here I am getting ready to sand it down and make sure everything was all cleaned up, so I can get a second pass on it. I didn't sand everything off because some parts were still good, and I feel like just having a little bit of darker spots and lighter spots would bring out a pop in the wood, which it did with this pass. I did notice that I went in straight paths on the second go, and on the first go I kind of went in circular motions. As you can see, there still is a little bit of blotching, and it's still a horrible finish, but it did look better for the first one. I'm going to give it a 120 grit and sand over it again, and then hit it with another coat, and then let it dry for a little bit. So right now I actually decided to go over it with a 220 grit, just so it wouldn't take too much of the material off, and then I did go with the second coat over the whole table right there, as you can see. And this coat I was actually very happy with. It did not look bad at all. Then I did start working on the centerpiece and got that all stained and finished. And here's the finished product of the centerpiece. I did notice little slight lines, so I did go ahead and fix that. And some parts didn't take the stain the way I wish it would, so I did just add some stain in little spots, wiped it off so it wouldn't have excess stain, and then that fixed the problem. So there we go. And then now it's just time to assemble the whole table and show you guys the whole finished product. This table is now for sale. If you guys do want a chance to buy it, you guys can go ahead and give my Facebook page a message, and you guys can have a chance to own this table. It was a fun job to do. I enjoyed it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please thumbs up. If you guys have any advice on things that I can do different, go ahead and let me know. I'm up for criticism. Anyway, here's a little bonus clip of me getting it into the garage. Thank you for watching.